Napoli, Real Madrid. That was a pretty interesting game. Napoli. So Real Madrid has this problem where they always start a little bit sluggish, a little bit lazy, a little bit slow, and they don't often realize that. But I think that's really detrimental to the team itself and to their winning, and I feel like they could have not considered 2 goals if they had, at the beginning came in full swing and just try to be serious as much as possible, focus. That's really their problem. But one thing I loved about the game, so Bellingham, 20 years old, interesting that he has such level of comprehension of the way he plays. For a 20-year-old, the way he moves off the ball, the way he understands spaces, the way he understands how to position himself, that's incredible coming from a 20 years old. And I'll tell you what, he had 1 goal, 1 assist, 94% pass accuracy in that game, 4 key passes, 2 big chances created. He had on 3 dribbles. He won 2. Duels won 6 on 8. 4 tackles, 2 interceptions. That was
he's all over the place.
Yeah, 9.3 or 9.2 rating, and he was the man of the match.
Well, and it's so weird watching again the age, 20 years old. He takes a lot of weird chances and liberties, and he never really seems to get burnt on anything. He's never completely out of position, despite. I mean, sometimes he'll take the ball pretty far up the pitch, despite needing to really sit back and help distribute, but he never seems to pay the price for anything that could go wrong by stepping that far out of position and being so free to move around.
I feel like it's because he understands, and that's why I think that he's so mature for his age and playing that like that, because I feel like he understands timing, positioning, and when to and good decision making. It's kind of like watching a little bit Zidane. I don't want to say something that's not
very early
on, but it's a little bit like that when you watch him play. It's like you see him doing these passes when it's supposed to. You see him taking these shots when he has to. You see him passing when he has to. You see him having, like you said, the freedom of moving off and up and on down the pitch
wherever he wants to go.
Yeah, and I feel like it's interesting because I think at Dortmund he was playing more of a 6, right?
Yeah, he absolutely was.
More, you can tell how unlocking, like his talent at Real Madrid has been kind of unlocked day by day, and he's still growing because
they even bought him to play a 6. Like that was the whole thing. It wasn't that they weren't open about saying, oh well, he's got this untapped potential. Like they thought, we all kind of thought that we had him figured out at Dortmund, which isn't a bad thing. He's just a great player. He was a great number 6, young, full of energy, and they brought him in with that in mind.
Yeah.
Because they had their more attacking guys. They had Valverde, they had Camavinga, they had Tchouameni to kind of help sit back. But no, the idea of him being this kind of freewheeling, that was not a thing at Dortmund, and that was not even why he was brought into this club in the first place. And really, if you look at it with the Kepa issue that led to the Ostergaard heading score in the I think 20th minute or so.
Yeah.
Bellingham, great goal from Vinny, opens his hips up, puts it in the opposite corner, but ultimately that was Bellingham's tackle, holding of the ball, and then that nice little clean through ball back out to Vinny. Like, good finish by Vinny, but that was all Bellingham. Like, he did everything involved to get them right back in, and that momentum is definitely what shaped the fate overall of the matchup, because it was a pretty interesting matchup that first 20-25 minutes or so until everything kind of falls apart. But that scoreline is more of what I expected. I did not expect it to be so open and competitive at times. I figured that Napoli would get in behind and score a couple of quick counters without Militao, without Alaba. Not that he's even been playing the best, but really Nacho is not who you want as your center back. And I think that it kind of left him open a little bit, but also I think that Kepa had a couple of mistakes in him, despite still having a decent game overall.
Yeah.
Several big saves, but also he was almost 50-50 with the good and the bad being equally consequential to the side.
But so watching the game and every other game, week in, week out, there's this thing about penalties. Do we need to redefine what is a penalty and what is not a penalty? Because now I feel like every single week we have this weird else. Like the natural penalty given, I don't think that's a penalty. You can control your body when you have already taken an action. Yeah. In the middle of the action, you can control your body. I don't care unless you like some freaking Superman or something like that. And
Curtis Jones.
Something like that.
No, but I mean, this seems
because when he bounced back, he was sliding and he was on the floor.
Yeah.
There's no way he could have known, it's gonna hit my hand. Let me remove that. Then even if he had known that would create he would be unbalanced in that moment. So I don't think that was a penalty. I just don't think so.
I would agree with you. Yeah.
So that that's just me. But how about Camavinga?
So you love him.
I love him.
I know that you love him. And
Camavinga. Have you seen the memes?
No.
You didn't listen to memes?
No.
Man, that's the memes.
I'm not a social
part.
media guy. Like if I see anything on social media or any memes, like, it's because
Yeah.
they're sent to me.
I gotta send it. So
Right.
the memes about Camavinga, he can play anywhere. You just gotta
Right.
put him there.
Yeah. No, and like, look, I think that he kind of had a sloppy game, but it's interesting because he still makes up for it.
Yeah.
He had several fouls where if he was just a little bit more patient, with a little bit more kind of maturity and poise, he probably wouldn't have been in those positions. But then he'll turn around and he'll make a great pass in transition. But in the mistakes that he makes, most of the time, the overwhelming majority of the time, don't really lead to putting his team overall in bad positions.
Yeah.
It's usually something that's isolated on his wing that is easily made up by somebody else, or he can quickly come in and adjust the situation. But I noticed a couple of times, I think Politano gave him a little bit of trouble, and he dealt with some of it. He didn't quite deal with all of it very well, but he is all over the place in a good way. Not an Upamecano out of position, but like his high energy makes up for some of the small mistakes that he makes, and he's very quick to rectify and make some good decisions as well.
But
do you agree with that assessment, or what do you think about that?
Probably I agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Now, just because the one thing we want to take in mind is he's not also playing a natural position for himself, so he doesn't have that instant awareness in terms of defensive. Although he as a defensive midfield, the task is a little bit different, right? But when he goes up, you can see how sometimes he doesn't have that quick instant reaction. Hey, I got to defend too, or this, and you will see these little mistakes too on that or left side. But that's also because of how the position that he's playing is not really how he or where he plays.
Right.
I think that plays a little bit in the fact that he does all the mistakes. But another thing I like about him, like you said, he made up for a lot of things, but also you see him defending, you see him backtracking. Different from, that's why the other left back, I don't think he should be coming back. With who's that? Vasquez.
Yeah.
He doesn't backtrack sometimes, and he will be up. This counter attack, and this guy's nowhere to be found.
Well, and he's not that old. He's 28, but he lacks that pace.
Yeah,
and he lets crosses get fed in all the time. And watching him, and again, I don't think he had a bad game. I think that he had an uncharacteristic game. He did turn the ball over several times, trying to put a little bit of dribbling on the ball when he didn't necessarily need to. There was one where he tried a little double step over and literally kicked the ball right to, I think it was Lobotka, or Politano, like on that right side. And you're like, why'd you do that? It's like, it's not the end of the world. It's not a major mistake, but it's the fact that you thought in that moment a cheeky bit of skill is what was gonna. No, patience. Hold on, hold the ball, dictate the pace.
Yeah,
that was your answer, and he just did that a couple of times in here, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's one of those where it's like, okay, he is not perfect, he is very versatile, and I think that in a game with lower stakes, he probably wouldn't have made some of those decisions.
Yeah,
I think that he maybe felt like he needed to get the ball moving. Not the end of the world, like I said, but what about that insane late goal from Valverde?
Man,
that was one of the best strikes I've seen this year.
I think he has a cannon in the place of his leg.
And
telling you
that's not the first time I've seen him do that this calendar year. It's the first time this season that he's had that goal. But like he had, I think, 2 or 3 of those last year.
I think in terms of power shot like that, from like this or this season at least, or this kind of new era. I feel like Erling Haaland and him, they have such powerful shot, because Haaland, when he shoots it, man, I think that thing it's kind of like a liver punch if it touches. So you don't want that.
Yeah, but as long as he doesn't have his back to goal. So when he has his back to goal and he has to turn, he loses all of his power. But if he's got like 4 or 5 steps, it's over.
Osimhen played great, but Rudiger too. Although Rudiger is really inconsistent sometimes, but that game I think Osimhen won more. I'm pretty sure. I haven't looked at the stats yet, but I know looking at the game, just the eye test, he won most of the aerial duels, but on the ground, it was difficult. Rudiger, he shut down anything.
Yeah.
So
when he had to as well.
Yeah.
He knew that he was kind of the last bit, because him and Militao are a great duo. He and Alaba, not that great.
Not that great, yeah.
He and Nacho, kind of untested. Don't want to test that in the Champions League.
Yeah.
So he definitely covered those spaces and those.
I don't think Nacho and Alaba should be playing, together, because it's such a mess when they play together. Because nobody's covering for anybody. It's better for Rudiger, but Rudiger too, sometimes he's just inconsistent. So if he keeps this state, or he can be consistent every day, every week in, week out, I think that would be really great. But overall, Napoli they had a great game too. It's just that
they did.
It's just that what happened.